Good evening, my fellow Americans. This is the Black Powder Podcast, the only real libertarian podcast in the history of mankind and beyond. Beyond. You like that one? You guys like that one?
Was that an echo feature on your mixer there?
Yeah, well, that was the
His mixer being his mouth.
Yeah. As usual.
Chicken?
As usual, what do you say about chicken, man? You can't talk chicken if Black
We're off to a great start.
Yeah,
Hey,
we're
got
off topic. Here.
you distracted there.
As usual, I am joined by my host, one of my favorite guys in the world, Eric Parker. Eric, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Hanging in there. Got a new shed built. Sorry, there's a bug flying around. Got a new shed built in my yard, and so I was able to clean out my garage. Now, the next couple weeks, hopefully get all the workout equipment from here, moved down in the garage, and this will become a nursery.
Oh, wow. You're going to be doing a podcast from a nursery? That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, I might be moving the podcast studio into the garage too. So,
there you go. That's what I do.
That's what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to. Oh, you're out in the garage too, Marcus?
Yes. Excuse me, sir. We haven't introduced you yet, so I would kindly ask that you refrain from commenting.
Move
That's fine. Listen, I need no introduction.
You do not. Everybody knows our other host today, Tube, from Jacksonville, Florida, our resident Florida man, who is here solely because I still believe in DEI, and I want some inclusivity from
you are our DEI
from Florida. No. This is the Black Powder Pod. It's not the White Powder Podcast. It's the Black Powder Podcast. I'm calling you.
Hey, if it was the White Powder Podcast, exactly have a lot more money. White powder, you know what I mean?
He's fallen to his Democrat background and who he truly is. Like, listen, was it 2 weeks ago, right? Wasn't it 2 weeks? I wasn't on last week. I think it was 2 weeks ago where we kind of revealed the fact that you are a Democrat.
How dare you, sir?
Oh, also, you know where it was? You know where I saw it too, where they agreed with it. When you did the Are You Smarter Than a Politician podcast.
No, they were just harassing me. And by the way,
you got the big thing that came up quickly. It says you are not a real libertarian and you are a Democrat.
I got the most points. I blew all those guys away. Speaking of libertarians and real libertarians, I'm kind of excited about our guest tonight. It's nice to bring influential libertarian people on here. And this man is one of the more influential members of the Libertarian Party. And he's from the great state of California, the fourth largest economy in the entire world.
All run by government.
Far surpassing North Carolina, blowing Florida out of the water. I don't even know.
It's a free economy, though. Ours
it doesn't matter. We're just going by labels today. And without further ado, we want to bring him in from backstage. It's Mr. Lars Mapstead. How you doing today, sir?
Good. I'm glad that we're not on the White Powder Podcast because we would all be just running around like chickens.
Yeah, exactly. Wait. Hold on. Finally, a real libertarian from California. That's fire, bro.
That's a shot at you, Marcus.
Well played.
That's not well played. But look, he also says that doesn't look like Lars. So
no,
I don't know. Is this a simulation? Is this an AI Lars?
Avatar. This is my AI avatar. I couldn't actually be here today, so I just hired the AI avatar to sit in my AI agent.
That's sweet.
And it's still doing better than Marcus.
Wow. I want to welcome everybody to the Marcus Matthews Bash episode, where they're just gonna bash me for about 45 minutes to an hour, just so they could log off and feel a little bit better about themselves tomorrow morning, that they were able to hurt somebody's feelings, that
Marcus,
this was to love them.
We don't need to bash you to feel better about ourselves. We just have to be around you to feel better about ourselves. And I think that just maybe Eric is on the white powder. Do you see how much he's swinging around over there?
Well,
he's on it so much he's seeing things flying around him.
Yeah. I just got an awesome idea for LP.
Nothing about cocaine sounds better.
No. No, to raise money is they should choose someone to roast and then sell tickets to the roast, and then have like a bunch of guest people on the panel roast said person.
I
That's
say
not a bad
Tub.
idea.
Tub. It's Tub all the way.
I mean, I bet
It's
Tub
Tub.
would let people roast them to raise money.
Well, it's low hanging fruit. First of all, you don't really have to have a vivid imagination. You just need casual observations to roast Tub.
I mean, we see pictures of Marcus, and it'll take care of itself.
It either needs to be someone semi-controversial or like one of the most popular people in the party. Like, I wonder if Justin Amash would let people roast him. You know what I mean?
Does he joke?
To raise money.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know that he jokes, but because he's an attorney, he's gonna take really great notes, and he's gonna when you get roasted, you get it. Yeah, we could roast Trump. Pull up Joe Hanush's comment, but we tried doing that, but what's his name? Rechtenwald wouldn't roast Trump. He literally said that. Anyways, all right. So
I think Rechtenwald roasted himself.
Exactly. But you remember him saying it? Anyways, so long story short, we should bring that up to the convention committee and see if we can raise some money.
Who's going to that convention? I think you actually talked about that when I came on.
Yeah.
About am I jumping ahead? I don't know if we have everything.
Yeah, way ahead. Because we do have a guest,
Hey, Lars.
Marcus, pretend like you know how to run a podcast. Go ahead.
So we have a guest tonight, and we brought him in, and I just want to ask him, what's up, Lars? What do you got going on? If anybody doesn't know who you are, we'll get to that part. But what's going on with you these days?
I've been working a lot on a lot of different projects and kind of trying to find out what could I do to affect liberty with my limited amount of time, and be the most effective about it, right? And so I've been working with two organizations. I stood up a nonprofit called Voting Rights Foundation, and it's about educating people on the broken system, the two-party system that holds control over our elections and over our government, and corrupts our judges and our politicians. And then I have another. It's not a nonprofit, but it's a political kind of action that is going after ballot access. And I think maybe we talked about that last time I was on. I can't remember, but yeah. So we've been doing that, and that's actually been really good. We've been getting a lot of traction. We've been getting states. We have an index that ranks all the states in how bad of ballot access they got, and the states are actually calling us up, and the ones in the middle that are like C's, they're like, how do we get to be better? How do we change? And so we're now able to have a conversation with secretaries of state and with legislators, and basically saying like, hey, this is what other states are doing. Because I guess the states, they don't look at the other states. They just look at their own thing, and they think, oh, we're doing great. And then they're like, no, you're not doing great. You suck. So that's been good. I got a good team of people on both those. So I've been grinding on that. And then, I've been doing a lot of investing, a lot of venture capital kind of stuff, a lot of investing in AI, really like digging into AI a lot, because I feel like that's really the most important issue that we've got going on right now. Above everything else, I think it's not being talked about enough, and it's going to be the major thing for the next election cycle.
Well, as the resident libertarian IT guy here, I was just talking to a colleague last week, and I was saying AI is in its 8-bit version. So anybody that knows about 8-bit, 16-bit, 32, 64, it's been a progression on how computers have been able to operate faster, better, and, all of that better processing power. AI is nowhere near where it's going to be in 3, 5, 10 years. Yeah. 3, 5, and 10 years, you're just going to see. Right now, a lot of AI videos I see seem like fever dreams induced by some sort of LSD intoxication, because there's just some weird stuff out there. But it's going to be very, very difficult for the average American, and this is what concerns me about AI, is because they can barely process the data that they get right now from social media and the internet. AI, you're literally going to have to do your homework to see if that's what AI thing you're looking at is real or fake.
Yeah.
It's going to be no joke out there. And, we don't have the smartest people in this country.
And already the kind of propaganda machine and the kind of fraudsters that are out there on the internet are using AI to really crank up, the level of propaganda and the level of fraud that's going on, because the AI can search the internet, find all the details about you, and then basically craft a plan to subvert you, or to essentially game you to try to get your bank accounts or your crypto or whatever they're trying to get at, right? So, and it's getting a lot harder for the regular people. I had 2 people call me this week and ask me about emails that they got and said, is this legit or this not legit, and I'm like, it's not legit, but they're like, wow, it really looks exactly like it. And it's because before, when the scammer was in Africa or whatever, their English wasn't great, and you could kind of tell like what was going on. But now they just use AI, and they say, make it sound just like I'm a representative from PayPal, and write up a letter just like PayPal would do, and then give me the exact thing and set me up an email account, and what would be the best way to scam this thing. Like, these guys are literally using AI to figure out how to scam people better, right? And there's supposed to be guardrails, but the thing is there's so many of these AIs, and they're so easy to sort of trick still to get the outcome that you want. One of the things that I came up with in the last couple of weeks is AI is like a fluffer. It strokes your ego and tells you the things that you want to hear, right? Because like, you ask it a question, right? You're like, hey, what about this? And it's like, oh, you're a genius. Yeah, that's really smart. You should, yeah, definitely. And then you're like, no, but that's a lie. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, that's a lie. But this next thing that you thought is really good, right? And it just tells you whatever you want to hear. And so it's like, you can literally ask it to like basically qualify whatever question you have for confirmation bias, and it will like basically provide you with the confirmation bias to meet whatever narrative you want, right?
Right. Also, I want to touch the libertarian third rail on AI, and then I'll pass it along. Do you, Lars, think that AI needs government regulations?
No, it doesn't matter it doesn't even matter. There's nothing they can do to regulate it. The genie's out of the bottle. Look, it's an arms race, and every country is involved in it, and whoever basically wins that arms race wins the economy and basically the power of the world. So like, if you put brakes on it, you're basically just like crushing yourself against the other countries that are going to go full bore at it, right? Like yeah, we don't need government involved in this at all.
So who's winning that arms race right now? And is China putting on, handcuffing their AI with government regulation?
So I think that I would say we're winning, but it's marginal. Like, we're not winning by like massive amounts. We're winning by minimal amounts, right? And so it's interesting to kind of watch, like, as the government tries to control, say, NVIDIA chips into foreign countries, and whether, trying to stifle, China's growth in AI. But I feel like in a lot of ways, this is just going to backfire on them, because when you basically, it's the thing that we all know, right? When you create prohibition on something, it creates black markets, and it also like makes people want to go out and try to fix the thing that they're trying to do, right? So we're basically incentivizing China to go out and invent all that stuff now, because we're not giving it to them, right? And so they're coming up with novel new ways of looking at the problem, whereas we're kind of like, we've got our blinders on because we've been working on the problem for so long. We don't like, it's like that big company effect versus the small startup. The small startup is more nimble and can like go after things and look at things differently than a big company can, right? And that's how big companies, often get lost. And so in this case, China's the small startup, right? In the chip game and in the AI game. And I think that we're basically forcing them to adapt, and possibly that's going to actually make them end up, doing really well. So we'll see how it goes. Government always backfires when it tries to, fix things, and so at least that's my experience.
So in your terms of an arm race and how we're kind of falling behind, well, we're technically still leading. What's the end game? What's the end desire? What are we accomplishing?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's essentially, the layout of it is, there's a lot of different, arguments about this, but essentially the AI at some point it does things so much better than humans do, that the governments basically turn themselves over to the AI. And that if you don't turn yourself over to the AI, essentially you lose, right? Because the AI is so much better than the other person. So everybody just gives in. And so kind of whoever gets to the AI, AGI, singularity moment first sort of owns stuff, because it's exponentially better after that. And the AI can basically subvert the other AIs, right? Like it gets so smart that it can basically, dismantle the other people, or keep itself going so much faster and better than the other people. So it's definitely an arms race, and it's probably more important than the nuclear race that we had, during World War II, to be honest with you.
In my petty nothing little world with all of this stuff that goes on, so AI is actually an issue inside of the world of the church and pastors, because there are pastors using it for sermons and stuff like that, and then you have guys like me who go, absolutely not. And so I'm falling, unfortunately, because of where I am and what my job is, and I'm so much against it. I use it for nothing. And so it's hurt. I know ultimately it's hurting me, because I'm using it for nothing at all, and I'm going to be the only guy left who has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But so what's going to happen to people like me?
So it's interesting.
Die.
Yeah, no. So like, there's a lot of kind of doomsday scenarios for AI, where people are freak out, and there's little drones that kill everybody, and the guns take over and all this kind of stuff. But I kind of have a optimistic outlook on AI and the outcome of AI for humanity, essentially, and that is that AI is going to it's going to replace a lot of workforce. There's going to be a lot of pain in the next couple of years as we lose a lot of jobs. And there's going to be a pretty crazy transition period, which I expect will be, we'll have a lot of social unrest and a lot of social problems. But once we get to the other side of that, I think we're going to have a much better standard of living and better lifestyle for pretty much everyone on the planet, because AI essentially drives the cost down of everything. And so it becomes a lot easier. There's this level of abundance where the shirt on your back right now that you pay $20 for might be 50 cents, in the future, just because the cost of everything drops so much. So everybody can have more than what they have right now on even less money, basically.
But how is that possible? If, like what you just said, so everybody's going to be out of work, basically. Yeah. My fear is once everybody gets out of work, government says, "Oh, we'll fix that problem and we'll give you everything that you need." Yeah. So how do we not let government take over, basically? And how do we? I don't want to say justify, but how do we explain the fact that we, like you said, everybody's going to be out of work, but everything's going to be better? Like I don't understand. I don't understand that.
So I mean, as a libertarian, I hate that this is where this is going, but I think 2028, the number one issue for 2028 presidential election is going to be universal basic income. And it's going to be a referendum on whether the government's going to take care of, my prediction right now is that we have 50 million people lose their jobs in the next, starting now, and probably within 3 years, we'll have 50 million job loss. And right now we only have 100 million people working. So, half the people are going to stop working. And it's interesting because I started looking into it. We have 100 million people on some kind of government assistance, whether it's Social Security or food stamps or general assistance, that sort of stuff. We have another 100 million people that don't work, that are like stay-at-home moms or like unemployed or kids or too old or whatever, right? And then we have 100 million people that work. So it's a third, and a third. But I see AI basically replacing half of the working force right now. And so once you get to that point, you're going to have 250 million people that are going to be reliant basically on the government. And so I don't see any way around that. But I did want to answer one thing that you said, which was like, what are people like me going to do when AI is sort of replacing everything? I think that because we're not going to be working as much, and work is, right now when you go to a party, you say, "Hey bro, what do you do for work?" That's how we all identify. What do you do for work? What do you do for work? Right? And after this AI thing is done, I think what's going to happen is work is not going to be nearly as important. What's going to be important is, hey bro, how's your family? Hey bro, how's your connection with other people, right? Like, are you having a good life? Are you doing good? Are you taking care of your community? So I think we're going back to more like tribes. And people like you are actually going to excel, because here's the thing. I think that the human interaction is going to be the thing that people want to pay premium for, right? We're not going to want to watch like robots play baseball. We're going to want to pay to see real people play baseball. We're not going to necessarily want to watch robots play music. We're going to want to do that. We're not necessarily, I don't think most people want a robot preacher, right? Like that kind of flies in the face.
Well, people in my church might want one, but
and so I think that authentic human interaction is going to be what's the premium service in the future, right? And so I think that that's a good thing. And we're just going to like, because of the Industrial Revolution, we've all gotten into this mindset that like, in order to be a productive human, in order to be a good human, you must go to work, provide for your family, do these things. But if everything's provided for you, what is your purpose in life, right? Like most people right now, their purpose is to wake up and go to work and take care of their family, and that's kind of their purpose, right? But if you don't have that, what's your purpose? Well, I mean, that's what a preacher's job is all about, is to tell people what their purpose is, right? Like that's the thing, right? And it's like, why are you here and what are you doing? And are you being a good human being? And are you gonna, are you being a service to other people and all those kind of things? So, I'm really hopeful, but I do see this struggle. Like, I think we've got literally 2 years before we start seeing serious political strife and social unrest in the streets. We're going to have rioting for sure. I'm absolutely certain of that. How far it goes and how crazy it gets, I don't know. But when people see that robots are replacing their jobs and that it's not coming back, they're going to freak out, right? And then that transition between then and when the government like somehow pays money or something. The thing is if, let's say that we increase productivity 10x, right? Like every basically we make 10 times as much stuff at 1/10 the price. There's so much abundance at that level that like, and I saw, here's the thing that I saw. So like COVID was a great opener for this thing, actually, right? Because we saw literally most people unemployed. Most people were on unemployment insurance or, staying at home. They weren't working, right? And I heard tons of people that were like, bro, if I could just live my life like this and I just got some money and I could get some beer and go to the beach and hang out with my family and never have to work a day in my life again, I would totally do that. And I guarantee you that like a big chunk of those 50 million people would opt to never work again if you just gave them like, it's the bread and circuses thing, right?
So Lars, like, it kind of sounds like you're saying though that, or in my opinion, like the COVID thing is kind of the inverse. The jobs that went away then, sorry, I'm getting some reverb. Jobs that went away then were like hospitality jobs. And that is the human interaction jobs, the face-to-face stuff that people were willing to pay the premium for. And the people that got to work from home are probably the jobs that AI is going to be replacing. So it's kind of like, what do you think? Or am I on the right track there? Or
I think not. I think so. It's interesting, when you start thinking about the jobs that are going to be taken. I don't know if you guys are following humanoid robot stuff right now, but it is on fire. It's like there's a company called Figure AI, and then there's obviously Musk who has the Optimus robot, and these things are shipping this year, right? Like there's humanoid robots going to be in people's house this year, right? And I was just in Miami, and there was like this a DoorDash delivery robot that was going around the street, and it would pick up food and it would drive to somebody's house and deliver. And I was like, and then I saw like 20 delivery guys, and I'm like, those guys' jobs are all gone, like gone, right? And like you were saying, hospitality, yeah, maybe the front desk person is going to be that, but the person that's cleaning the rooms, that's all a robot, bro. There's no people cleaning rooms. So it's like if you're and even like gardeners.
So I guess I was thinking like bartender, craft beer pourer. You know what I mean?
So like
job I really want.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is a lot of people go to a bar and talk to the bartender because they want to have a social interaction, right? And they want to have an interaction with people or whatever. Now, I mean, some people might favor going to a bar that's by a robot if the drinks are a lot cheaper. but some people are going to pay a premium to go to a bar with a real person, you know, that's got yeah. So it's you know, I think it's not cut and dry, but it's just like I see a lot of these things. One of the things that was interesting was people are like, oh, bro, I'm in the trades. Robots are never going to be able to do my job, blah, 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 you know. And I was like, look, just Google your job with robots, right? Robots with your job and on YouTube, and find a video. And if there's a video that shows your job being done by a robot, you're toast. Right? If there's no job being done by a robot when you Google that, then you might be okay, right? But right now, like, you can literally like type in like robot, you know, contractor, robot, welder, robot, you know, whatever, and you'll find these crazy things. There's whole factories right now that are called dark factories, where there's literally no people in them at all. It's 100% robots. And really, like Amazon, right? Amazon is not really a company that sells stuff. Amazon is a logistics company. Amazon is in the business of moving crap around, right? That's their business. And so it's all automated with robots. Most of their big warehouses and stuff are all robots now, you know? So it's coming faster than people want. Right now, AI is doubling every 5 months. This isn't a slow burn like the internet was. This is like, in 2 years, it's like 8 times, 10 times more than it is right now. And 2 years later, it's 20 times more, you know what I mean? Or 30 times more. So it's exponential.
What's the cost of these robots? You're saying, hey, the next couple of years are going to be in houses. And so what is the cost? And then if the people aren't making the money, how are they going to afford the cost?
So this is what's really wild about it. So the first ones coming out are going to be expensive. They're going to be like 80 grand, right? But they predict that they're going to be able to get these robots down to $10,000. So pretty much affordable for most middle America. Like, if you own a car, you're going to own a robot, right? Like that's the bottom line, right? And it's like, I was thinking about it, and it's like, if you had a robot at your house, think of like Roomba on super steroids, right? The thing that, like, you know, vacuums your thing, right? But imagine this robot that basically just stands in the corner, and when you leave your house, it runs around your house and picks everything up and does your laundry and does your dishes, goes out and mows your lawn, you know, weeds your stuff. I mean, it's going to be wild. You're just going to have a 24/7 worker for 10 grand, basically.
Watch how I'm going to answer my own question. You ready? Watch this. So go because of what you just said. So we pay a person to come in. We only do it once a month. They come in and they clean our house. Yeah. I pay a guy who does my lawn every 2 weeks. Yeah. So if you start thinking about $10,000 just with that stuff right there, it's not going to take that long.
Right.
And I have to do far more things.
100%, because that's only 4 hours a day. You own this thing for every day, all day long. It can work in the middle of the night. It can go out and, like, you know, clipping your lawn, your yard, and, you know, fertilizing your fruit trees and whatever. I mean, it's, you know, and it's and not only that, but it's really interesting because it changes like the dynamic for old people in their homes, right? Because now you have a full-time caretaker that's watching you, and if you have a seizure or you have some medical problem, here's this robot that can, like, check your pulse and your temperature with its eyes. It knows that you're breathing or not breathing or having a problem, and it can automatically dial 911. It can, like, you know, open the door for the people. It's like, it's crazy. It's going to be crazy.
And when you say, like, so like, my mother-in-law lives alone. Well, she'll be back alone here pretty soon. And so she has a tendency to fall sometimes. So imagine if something like that's in the house. If nothing else, it just helps her get back up again.
100%. And it's like, imagine you might have slight dementia or something like that. This thing's going to be able to keep tabs on you. It's going to be able to notify, you know, the relatives, hey, Joe left the apartment again.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And she's outside. She's out. Get her back in.
See, what's crazy about that is Star Wars predicted. I know the outcome of this, and people are going to start hating droids and whatnot. And that's what Star Wars has taught us, that droids weren't welcome in many places because over their course of society, they took over the roles of so many jobs that, you know, that when Luke brought C-3PO and R2-D2 into the canteen on Tatooine, they're like, hey, we don't serve their kind. And that's a theme throughout the whole Star Wars series. Yeah. We're about that. That kind of excites me about the robot thing, because, You know,
Marcus
I think we
is
all can
excited.
universally discriminate against robots, and they can't call you racist or anything like that.
Marcus
Well,
is
I mean, I'm
excited
sure the
about
government will
robot
come up with
racism.
some DEI for robots. You know what I mean?
What did you say, Eric?
I was just saying, Marcus is excited about being racist against robots. What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you bots?
But
yeah, that's I think that's crazy. And speaking of Elon, you know, it's been 100 days now, and I wanted to get your opinion on Doge because you seem pretty excited at the initial prospects of this going forward. And I had this guy named Chuck Michelle on here, who's a very prominent 2A lawyer, and he was very excited about that. Where do you see it now in 100 days? Out?
So I think the best thing that came out of Doge was basically the USAID stuff. Like, for sure, that was like an incredible grift that I didn't really know about, and just even knowing about it like changes your viewpoint on everything. That like literally these Congress people were using it as a slush fund to bro out all their friends. You know, as like, oh, just start up a nonprofit. Submit a grant, and I'll tell person at USAID to like fulfill it for $20 million or whatever, and then you can just pay your family and stuff out of that, and you know and then I get some, you know, kickback or whatever. I mean, the grift on that thing was just unbelievable, right? I think unfortunately, without like having a mandate from Congress to go in and like really do deep smashing of stuff, I feel like it's fallen way shorter than what I was hoping it was going to be able to do. I was more hopeful that like it would go into the Department of Defense and find the billion or $1 trillion that we're missing from that. I was hoping that it would. I did like the fact that it found all that Social Security fraud, like all these people that were like shouldn't even be on it, you know, or were getting multiple checks, and it just shows. I think the thing that Doge really showed was just how mediocre our government is, right, when handling our money, right? Like they literally didn't have any checks and balances for this stuff, and then you see that other thing that they had where like there's one government account that all the money comes out of. I don't know if you guys caught that, but basically there's just one account, and the one account they don't even like code what the thing was for, right? This is like basic accounting principles that if you were in any corporation, you didn't do this and they audited you, the entire board and everybody on the top level C-suite would be fired immediately, and they'd probably all be sued into oblivion, right? Yet our Congress people, nothing, no accountability. It's fine. You know, we burned $400 billion. Mistakes happen, right? Like if you and I did that, we'd all be like rotting in jail forever, right? And so, yeah. And it's like they found all this fraud. Well, how come no one's in jail?
Nobody's. Mm-hmm.
That's the craziest part to me. All this fraud, yet they're parading everybody that they bust in front of every single camera that they can.
Yeah.
But they found all this fraud and we're like, you know, we're taking care of that.
We're taking care of that.
I'm wondering is it because the fraud that they found was caused by or propagated by the duopoly? And you know, you can't incriminate yourself.
100%. It's the same reason, bro, we don't have an Epstein list.
Yeah.
It's because the people that were doing it were the people that get to protect themselves. They're all protecting themselves. It's just
Pam Bondi's on that list.
It's just total crap.
Yeah, and I would hope the American people, even though I have very little faith in the statement I'm about to make, I would hope the American people would take a step back and be like, yo, what the hell?
Right.
They're finding all this fraud, but they were in charge when this fraud was occurring, both parties.
Yeah.
Why am I electing these same people?
Yeah.
That committed the fraud that are finding the fraud now?
Yeah, it's kind of like that chart where it showed, like you get the debt chart by president and by Congress, and it shows each year and who was in office when the debt went up, and the debt just goes like this, and it doesn't matter who's in office, it just goes up and up and up. And it's like you'd think that after that's been going on my entire life, 55 years, right? You'd think after 55 years of watching that, people would be like, oh, it doesn't matter if you're red or blue. They just keep burning our money to the ground. And then they'd be like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm not voting red or blue anymore. But they don't. So I don't have any hope or faith that they're going to change their mind on this, because basically they just say, like, my team, it's cute when my team does it, bro. It's cute when my team does it. But when the other side does it, they're bad, evil people, and we got to put them down. It's like, it's bad.
So what happens is it actually goes a step further where you go, my guy's okay.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you guys, even whichever party you're in, they would go like, oh, you know what? You're right. The Republicans are bad. Okay. But not my guy. My guy is fine. Even though he's a Republican or Democrat, whatever, mine's okay. You guys need to change your guy. Yeah. My guy's fine. And then everybody does that. So nothing changes.
You need to say you people.
You people.
Y'all.
Like, no.
You people are
bad. No, your
people.
You people are bad. My people.
Your people are ruining all of it. And when I mean that, I mean black IT people. You're ruining everything.
My kids would talk to me. They'd say something like, that's not fair, or and I would just tell them, life's not fair, right? Like, if you believe it's going to be fair, it's you're going to be sorely disappointed, right?
Yeah.
I get related, but so a little while back, a few months back, actually, not terribly long ago, my youngest son is 27. And he came to me and he goes, listen, I just want to thank you for that tough love you gave me. And I looked at him for a second. I was like, oh, even this is coming. And he goes, listen, no, because now I've learned that nobody in the world cares about me. Like, it's not set up, to look out for me or do anything for me, because I realize now that the world doesn't owe me anything. And he goes, now I appreciate the fact that you kind of prepped me for that a little bit.
Yeah. And I told my kids, well, I lost the thought. The second time I lost the thought.
It's all good. Eric, did you have something? We're going to come back to you on that thought, Lars.
Yeah, I opened this beer and it foamed up and made a mess. That's all I got. No,
on Doge.
It got my notes all wet, all messed up here.
I'm just happy he had notes. Well done, Eric.
Well, and it's kind of going back to the AI thing. Doge was using AI to comb through a lot of this spending. You know what I mean? Yep. I wonder what access was needed to be given or permission given, and now like how much of Elon's AI or that algorithm has access, and where can they turn it off and turn it on? Like, that'd be interesting to know. Like, or it's just back there, like combing through the archives. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, that was the one of the things that I had a disagreement with the Doge thing on, which was like, you saw a bunch of Democrat Congress people wanting to go into one of the buildings and have some oversight on what was going on, right? And I thought, you know what, these are people's representatives, right? And like, they should be able to look and see what's going on. Like that's kind of their job, right? Is to make sure that like everything's on the up and up. And like, so keeping them out kind of pissed me off. And if it would have been a Republican, I would have said the same, because it's just like, I believe in transparency is a disinfectant. Like the sunlight is the disinfectant, right? Like on the corruption and that sort of thing. So I think transparency is important on all that. I'm not too worried about Musk using data. I don't think they took any data. I don't think they copied the data. I think they just ran it through their filters, and I'm sure that they didn't use a public connected AI to the internet. They just used some AI that they brought in that was secure or whatever, and crunched the numbers and looked, because there's no way that like a human could run through all that stuff that quickly, right? And like, if you think about it, AI is essentially like, they used it as a database search, right? Like, so it'd be like saying, oh, I wonder if they have the database search. And it's like, if they have the database search, okay. Like, as long as they're not committing fraud and changing the database fraudulently or something like that, and they're just reading it, looking for the errors and the problems and how to fix it and make it better. That's like any software job. That's like a software engineer's job, is to like comb through data, figure it out, make a program that fixes it faster and makes it better. So I'm all for this. Like, I think that's one, I saw something today about Musk basically just saying like how completely inefficient and mediocre our government IT is. We need Marcus and the government to like fix up the IT and make it, hum. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking of humming, I was going to say something about Tesla, but I wanted to ask you. You mentioned Musk. Now, his Tesla stuff is kind of tanking right now, and a lot of people don't understand they could be on the verge of bankruptcy if they're not able to sell those credits to other car manufacturers that Trump is currently threatening to get rid of. Tub, you know all about this, right?
I'm out. I don't nothing. I got nothing.
At any rate, one of the main reasons that Tesla is so profitable is that they're able to sell these credits to other car manufacturers. It sounds like some liberal plot or whatever
Are these like the electric car tax credits or something?
Carbon credits, carbon offset credits, basically. Like because they're not producing cars with engines, essentially. They don't pollute as much as GM or Ford or whatever. And the government basically says, look, in order to offset your carbon pollution that you guys do, you need to pay the government a certain amount of money. Or you could go find somebody that has the credits and you can buy them, because it's a market, right? It's like, think of it as a market where you're trading basically cash to get rid of your green gilt, right? And so Musk has this huge cachet of these credits that he can sell to other companies, basically to let them get rid of their green gilt. And so he pockets, it's some insane amount of money, like
$84 million 1 year.
Yeah. It's I thought I saw something like $400 million or something like that, but it might have been over a period of time. But I mean, it's an insane amount of money. But in the grand scheme of things, where Tesla's probably closing in on $1 trillion market cap or something like that. It's almost noise. I mean, it's an interesting point, and I'm going to look into it, Marcus. I didn't really look at that piece and whether they would be losing it. I actually have a huge position right now in Tesla. Because I believe that the Optimus robot, which will be shipping mid next year, they're already building them. I think it's probably going to be one of the greatest commercial products ever made. It's going to dwarf the iPhone, right? Because if you think an iPhone is like $1,000 or whatever, these things are 10 grand. The profit margin is, going to be better, right? And they don't really have a lot of competition, so they can pad it with some deep profit for, think of it as like it's the iPhone and Samsung all over again, right? The Google phone, basically all over again, and these two mega competitors. And if this thing works out the way that we were just discussing, everybody is going to want one of these things in their house. Everybody, right? Like, you're going to see your friend having, you're like, shit, I need a person that's going to go and mow my lawn and do my laundry and stuff. And 10 grand, hell yeah, I'm in, right? So I'm big on that. I also invested in a company called Figure AI, which is basically doing the same thing. I have a lot of AI investments. I'm invested in XAI right now, Anthropic, OpenAI, a couple other ones. I'm spacing them off right off the top of my head, but I'm really deep into this right now. I think that when I discovered the internet in 1994, and the Mosaic browser had just come out, and no one knew what the internet was. And I was championing my friends. I'm like, bros, this is like crazy. You can go on the internet and you can like get anything.
It was literally a Wild West back then. I have one more question on Elon, because there's one thing that struck me is his political stances have put him almost on par with the My Pillow guy. Now, I think Elon is way too diverse to go the route the My Pillow guy went.
Yeah,
but he has to understand the simple fact that his current situation is eliminating 1/3 of American consumers from his brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's he's done more damage shareholder wise and to his companies than he saved the American taxpayer.
Yeah.
Which is
That's huge.
that's kind of a crazy thought, right? Like it would have been better. And so it was interesting because I saw him kind of complaining about something like, oh, like everybody's turned on me and they're all like after me. And I'm like, well, you should have learned from George Soros, bro. You just you don't be the face. You don't be the tallest blade of grass. Like you go hire a bunch of people to go do the thing that you want to do, and then you just pay money from behind the scenes, and then your companies are all happy. Like
that's what the boss does. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was running Friend Finder, we had lots of opportunities to be political. Like people were like, oh, you should champion this idea, or you should champion this cause, or this is a good cause. And I said, we don't do politics here. We're here to make money. We're not doing because if you do politics, you're going to lose your audience unless your business is specifically to target a specific audience only. You're like shooting yourself in the foot. Why would you do that? A capitalist should be focused on making money and not on politics. And if you want to do politics, like quit running your companies and go do politics or something like that.
Well, there it is.
So how does Musk come out of this one unscathed then? How does he correct this wrong?
I feel like that a lot of damage has already been done. He needs to are you familiar with Jack Ma from Alibaba? He needs to pull a Jack Ma from Alibaba. So Jack Ma was like he was coming up on in China and running Alibaba, and it was the biggest company in China, and he was like the mega rock. He was the Elon Musk of basically China, right? And the Chinese government decided he was getting too much influence and people were like following him too much, and they were like seeing all the money he was making, and they were getting too capitalistic. So they disappeared Jack Ma for like a year. Like he just disappeared. And when he came back, he's like, I love China. I love me some China. And so, I mean, I think he needs to go lay low for a while. If he laid low for 6 months and just did company stuff, and he already said he's quitting, basically. He said he's going to work 1 to 2 hours a week right now. I think his shareholders, his boards of directors are all leaning on him, and they're like, bro, what are you doing? This isn't like helping anything. And you've got you're distracted. You need to be focused on your mission of getting to Mars, of, creating these robots, of autonomous vehicles, of, putting implant chips into people's brains and tunneling under the sea. You need to be focused on that stuff and not like, pretending to cut government spending. Because look, in the end, Doge hasn't cut crap, right?
No.
Because they passed the continuing resolution, which essentially continued Biden's spending at the exact same levels as he was doing, but also with the automatic kick-ins that raise per inflation every year for entitlement programs, right? So we're actually spending more right now than we were under Biden, and then they kicked in another was it $100 billion for the defense budget, $200 billion more for the defense budget. So now we're at $1.2 trillion or whatever. So it's like, these guys, I came up with a FINO. They're fiscally responsible in name only. That's what Republicans are now FINOs, right? Like, because they talk mean game about how they're going to like reduce the deficit and get government under control. And then when it comes to voting, I mean, just look what they did to, today with the tariff thing, right? Like these guys are not serious. It's the uniparty. They don't like. I saw somebody on one of the posts I was talking about today, and they were like, I don't understand why they have full control of the government right now. Why aren't they just ramming through everything that we've ever dreamed of? Exactly. And why are they taking breaks? Like if you every 25 years you get to own the government completely, why wouldn't you just work round the clock to like get all your authoritarian crap down everybody's throat, right? And the reason it is, and this happened with the Democrats too, they wait till the midterms, till the Congress flips, and then they say, we couldn't get it done, guys, because the evil Democrats or the evil Republicans stopped us from doing it. And it's like, no, because you didn't want to do it. That's why
they want to, because the idea of having those issues and those topics, that's what they run on. 100%. And if you solve them, so what happened was, in all honesty, that's exactly what the Dems did with the abortion issue. They had plenty of time to put it into law instead of a court case. Yeah. And they did nothing because they knew what they wanted to do. Because if they did it, what are we going to run on now?
Right.
And that's the reason why they don't.
With the healthcare. Obama had 2 years where he completely owned the government, and he didn't try to put healthcare through until after the Republicans won. And then he was like, I don't know how it happened that I couldn't get it through. Right? Like,
remember when W was going to get rid of Social Security?
Okay.
And he had everything he needed in a place where he could have, or kind of at least to start kind of changing it, and then he backed off of it because you got to have it. And what it is, we have to understand that they're not really worried about us. They're worried about maintaining their jobs and playing politics.
Yeah, 100%.
So they're not really there to fix anything.
I'm predicting that because the economy is going to be so bad, we'll be in a recession. Price of everything's going to be up. Inflation's going to seem or will be high. It's going to seem even worse because of the tariffs. That Congress will end up, either Congress or Senate will end up flipping back Democrat. Democrats are going to run in the midterm on the economy. They're going to say it's the economy, stupid. Democrats are going to become the biggest free market Democrats you've ever seen. They're going to be like Bill Clinton, you know what I mean, whenever he was running. So, and then they're going to flip, and then, like you said, Republicans are like, oh, darn. But it's almost like it's intentional and it's planned.
It is.
It's 100%.
You know what I mean? It's like it's you know,
it's a charade.
Professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my gosh, sorry, all these Republicans or economists, whatever, we didn't predict that tariffs would ruin the economy and make everyone vote for, you know. Yeah. But then once the Democrats get in office, they're gonna forget all about there'll be the
it's the pendulum of stupidity.
Exactly. They're gonna forget about all the free market stuff they ran.
We should talk tariffs. We haven't talked tariffs yet.
Well, I just want to make one more point on this topic right here. Nobody is going to change the system that brought them to power. That is never going to happen ever. Yep. So tariffs.
Yeah.
China's going to pay for them. I'm gonna play average American here and tell you why all you guys are wrong, and China's going to pay for the tariffs. So go ahead and spout your socialistic BS. I'm going to stand over here with my MAGA. This P stands for tariffs.
How'd that work out for the wall there, bro? China paid, Mexico paid for that wall.
Mexico paid for that wall.
Mm-hmm. And it's across the whole country
right now. It's across the whole country right now.
Yeah, every brick, every post.
Every brick, right? Yeah, I mean, it's the interesting thing is the level the tariffs are right now on China. We basically have no trade. The trade has shut down. And you can look at the ports. You can look at the port of LA. You can look at the port of Oakland. You can look at Vancouver. Next week, basically, the ships stop coming. They have stopped already, but they had some in transit, right? And so basically next week the ships stop coming, and so the goods are not going to come, which means the truckers aren't picking up any goods, which means the stores aren't getting any goods, which means that we're going to start having shortages on the shelves, that sort of thing. And the big purchasing time for Christmas is the end of this month. May and June is the big time where everybody puts in all their orders for what they're going to be selling at Christmas time. And, so it's going to be really interesting to see what they do here. And the Republicans have kind of put themselves in a weird catch-22 situation, right? Because the everyman is like, the reason we need these tariffs is because it's going to bring jobs back to America. It's going to bring factories back to America, right? And
where's the lie? Where's the lie? Where's the lie in that?
Where's the lie? Well, even if they do bring back jobs to America, if I was going to build a factory right now anywhere in the world, I wouldn't build it for humans. I'd build it for the robot force that's coming, right? Like, I'm not building it to have a bunch of slacker humans that need Social Security and medical benefits and stuff like that. As a capitalist, I would build me a factory that's one of these dark factories that just runs all on robots, right?
But the issue with that is still, let's say they come to you and say, okay, Lars, you decide you're going to take that idea. I'm going to build a factory, and I'm going to let robots run, which is fine. But you're still going to build that factory. Yeah. So you still have all of that time with no product while the jobs and stuff are being created.
Not only that, but right now the problem is that there's no clarity whether these tariffs are even going to be here in 60 days, right? So
so why would you build now if it's going to be squashed out anyway?
So that's the conundrum that they have, is that they're like, hey, we want all these things. This is going to bring all these jobs back, And then it's like, but he's playing 4D chess and he's going to get rid of the tariffs. Well, if you get rid of the tariffs, then the jobs don't come back, right? And if you're a person thinking about moving your stuff back to America, that's why would you do that? Like, I would never invest capital. I just wait it out and see like what it's going to be. Like, if the tariffs go away, then if they keep the tariffs on and it's like there for a year and we're all really suffering, because if they leave it on for like more than another 60 days, we're screwed. Like, we are so screwed, like economically.
If you choose to move your business and your factory to Mexico instead of America, you can avoid the tariffs and build the stuff with cheaper labor anyways.
Right. Yeah.
Well, right now, America, as far as our politicians, their economic plan is that of Radio Shack in like the late 90s.
Circuit City, baby.
They're trying to hold on to something that has far surpassed them.
Yes.
You know, 100%. This is, if you don't understand that this is a complete and absolute global marketplace now. Yeah. You're living in an age far past. That's the thing about Americans right now.
Sorry, my friend, you are wrong. VHS tapes will be here forever.
Whereas we're going back to the horse and buggy for sure.
Like that, because they're not recyclable, so they'll just be in the landfill.
They'll be here forever.
Yeah, and it's nuts because just today, people. I did our Black Powder Tariff Challenge on a guy today. I said, post a picture of 10 things in your home that were made in America. Not consumables.
Yeah.
You know, and he started listing off all of this crap.
Yeah.
And I told him not, and he struggled mightily, and it was just broad terms, and I was like, you misunderstood the assignment. Nobody in America has 10 things. Maybe ammo. I have ammo of different calibers.
Yep.
Because that might be my only thing that's built in America.
Yeah. Hang on, I'm checking.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I kind of noticed local, but it's also to the point that you were just saying, is that the local governments right now, in my town anyway, they're all like busy trying to figure out what how to do public transportation with buses. We just got done spending like millions of dollars putting bus lanes in on the freeway or something like that, you know. And I got to thinking, and I'm like, these guys are so out of touch. Like we're like, buses are going away. Like we're gonna have electric cars that just pick people up and take them to wherever they want to go. It's like Uber. With robot Uber is going to be the way people transport. They're not going to get on a bus. And you know, most public transport is subsidized, right? It doesn't make enough money to keep it going, right? So it's like, if you're going to subsidize people anyway, why inconvenience them with this giant, you know, system of waste and corruption? Like, these people should be forward thinking. They're the leaders of our government. But they're like thinking about 25 years ago. It's the same thing as like with the nuclear power, right? Like, they're like all stuck in 1990 nuclear power when it's 2025 and other countries are like smashing us, and we're still trying to figure out what we're doing, and it's ridiculous. But government always mediocre because it has no reason to be better. It has no incentive to be better.
Yeah, because with the nuclear power thing, everybody's thinking 3 Mile Island. And that's, you know, there's only 2 generations, Gen X and the boomers, that know about 3 Mile Island. And yet, those are the 2 generations that are preventing, like, nuclear power from going forward. It is absolutely ridiculous. Here in California, we closed one of our nuclear plants, and they just extended the life of another one up north for another few years. But we're sitting here trying to move away from natural gas and all of that stuff with nothing in place to replace it moving forward.
And then mandating everything has to be electric by 2020.
Yeah, we have less than 10 years till every single car in California won't have an ICE engine, internal combustion engine.
Did they pass that today? They voted on that today.
Well, as far as I know, that mandate was still in place from Newsom.
Yeah.
Where you know, and I was thinking, like, on the west side of LA, when I used to go visit my friends over there, parking was a bitch. Excuse my French. But there would just be parking along the streets and in the carports of the apartment. How are all those people going to charge their vehicles?
Right. Yeah.
And we have extremely limited. Tubbs pointing his finger at me in authoritative fashion, so I'm going to pass it to that guy.
All right, because here's what I've been saying. Okay, I've been saying that the electric vehicles are a layover. They're not the end game. The end game is to have no transportation, especially private transportation. So what I say is that what they've done is that they say, okay, we're all going to switch over to electric now. And so everybody starts doing it, and then you start having all of these issues, and people go, forget it. Well, here's the downside. Now, once they have that car, they can't sell it. There's no trade-in value for these things anymore, especially by the time with our trucks and stuff now. So then they're going to have nothing. They're going to have no money, nothing to turn around and buy another one or get back into a combustion engine again. So now they got nothing. So now it's going to turn into, okay, wait a minute. Now, this is where I think that, honestly, is where I think that they get their 15-minute cities. I think that this is also where buses do become a thing. Because what they're going to say is, hey, nobody's going to own a vehicle, not because they don't want to, but because now they've gotten to a point where they can't. They can't afford it. They can't have it. And so now that gets them closer because then government controls. Because I've said all along, the EVs are them further controlling you. Because remember when they said, hey, we're going to start putting charging stations across the country, but they were deciding where they're going to put them. And so all they have to do is, first off, they're going to tell you which way if I'm going to go from Florida to California, I've got to follow the path that they told me I had to take, basically, because I got to follow those. And then what happens when people start going, you know what? I don't want to stop 15 times before I get out to California. I'm just going to stay here. They're not going to go. So ultimately, all it is, the EVs, I've been saying this all along, EVs themselves are not the point. They are a layover to further government control. And they're just playing the long game on us.
That's great. Let me ask Lars, where do you stand on, you're pretty into innovation on hydrogen powered vehicles. Have you looked into that at all?
A little bit. They kind of scare me, to be honest with you. Like I saw one of the Honda ones, and the tanks that they have that hold that hydrogen, it like takes up the entire back of the vehicle, like not like a little gas tank. It was like, man, if that thing explodes, you're toast. I don't know.
Do you think a high impact rear engine collision can split the hydrogen particles and cause a... That'd be pretty cool.
I think it is interesting. I think battery technology is going to continue to get better and better. Range is going to get better and better. This is like the chip thing, right? This is the Moore's law of electric cars. There's currently more electric charging stations in California than there are gas stations.
Except you don't have the sources to keep them charged so people can actually use them.
Oh yeah, we're relying on wind.
That's why we need nuclear power, right?
Yep.
There's a bunch of, then there's also a bunch of other interesting energy things. The cool thing about it right now is because of the demand for AI. When I was running my campaign, we had that energy race, and we were like, we wanted to really like supercharge energy in America and get the cost of energy down, and explore all these different ways of doing things. But one of the problems is that it wasn't economically viable to build a nuclear power plant. Like the cost was so great and the regulations were so big that you couldn't really easily make a profit. So it wasn't like a good investment to like try to do it. But fast forward just 2 years, and suddenly there's so much demand for energy through AI that Microsoft and Google and Apple and the likes of all these guys are like, hey, we need nuclear power because that's the only way we can get enough power to do all these things that we want to do. So we're willing to invest the money because now we have a reason and a profit motive for it.
So I feel like, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like I was watching a thing where they're talking about doing smaller versions of nuclear power plants.
Yes.
And where it kind of does a smaller area, it's very specific to that area. Okay, so I wasn't losing my mind. That is something.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're called SMRs, small modular reactor. And GE makes them. A few different people make them. They're putting one into Microsoft is building one in Montana right now, or Montana or Wyoming, I can't remember. And that one's super interesting because they basically went to the town and they said, hey, we want to build this thing. Will you let us build it in your town? And what we're going to do is when we build it, the town is going to own it. And whatever power it makes that you guys don't use, you can sell on the grid to other towns. And you can take that money and give everybody in the town a check because you own the power plant, right? And so now they have basically a built-in UBI. It's kind of like the oil, the oil dividend if you live in Alaska or whatever, right? And so it is interesting. Like one thing I learned in the last week or two that kind of along those lines is that the world's biggest sovereign wealth fund, which I thought would have been like Saudi Arabia, because that would just make the most sense to me. The biggest wealth fund is, I think, the Netherlands, Holland. One of those countries there has the largest sovereign wealth fund. It's like multi-trillions of dollars or whatever. And they basically, that's how they pay for all those healthcare costs and all the freebies that they basically get, because they have so much natural resources that they're pulling out of the ground, and the government owns it all. Private companies don't. And so the government is like a giant oil corporation, and the dividends go to the citizens basically. And so that's why they don't have debt, and that's why they're able.
Now take everything that you're saying there, because I know we're coming up on time. So I want you to take everything that you're saying, like what you just covered right there, and I'm going to ask you something that you kind of touched on for a second, which is going to kind of be the only input that I have in this show all night. Okay, will be, what is your political future?
What is my political future? So,
yes, sir.
I think that the main thing that we have to do is we have to educate people on the fact that we have two private corporations running our elections and our country. And that not only are they running our elections and have captured, basically everything, they also control all the judges. And the judges make the rules on the laws, right? So we have partisan judges on both sides that are basically beholden to two private corporations, the RNC and the DNC. And you hear everybody railing against NGOs, the evil NGOs. Well, that's what an RNC and DNC are, right? And so we literally have, I think the founding fathers would be rolling over if they found out that two private corporations had figured out how to basically take control of America. And, and we can't have any change in America. We can't get to the freedom that we want. We can't get to the, the libertarian utopia that we want, as long as those two private corporations are running the show. And so my political future is to smash the duopoly, is to basically try to break the duopoly stranglehold on American politics so that we can get to the freedom that we have. Because I realize all the other stuff that we do is kind of irrelevant, because it's just like feeding around the edges of what's really the problem. And the problem is these two private corporations. And so we have to educate people that that's what's going on. And I use every opportunity on social media that I can to let people know that, hey, if you're tired of this, then you have to vote these people out, all of them.
Was that a lot of words to say that you're going to run for governor of California?
I don't think that I will. I don't feel like, I feel like what I did with president was what I wanted to do, and it taught me the things that I wanted to learn, and it basically gave me the sort of adventure that I was seeking, and gave me the political foothold that I wanted. But the reality of it is that the two-party system has the system so locked up that it's irrelevant to basically run for any office. And that until we smash this duopoly, it's good to have our name, run candidates so that there's an L on the ticket. I like that. But let's not be delusional. No libertarian is winning a governorship, right? And so we have to basically put our effort into educating people that this duopoly is the root cause of the problems in America today. Right now, 1 in 5 Americans believe violence is the answer to our political problems. 1 in 5 Americans believes violence is the answer to our political problems. And that's because people are not feeling represented. They're not feeling like their voices are heard. They're checking out. They're checking out of the election system because they know it's corrupt and fraudulent, right? And basically, when your voice is not heard and you have no say in anything and you're frustrated and upset, you only have one option, which is to get violent, is to like take action. I mean, that's why we had a revolution, right? Because people were like, I'm tired of Britain telling me what to do and I don't have any representation, and essentially that. So one of the main reasons I want to smash the duopoly and get rid of this corrupt two-party system is because if we don't, that number 1 in 5 is going to keep growing. And the reason we had the George Floyd riots and the reason we had January 6th was because people on both sides are pissed off. They don't feel like they're being heard. They don't feel like their government is doing for them what they want them to do. And, you know, they obviously want different things, but nobody feels like the government is working for them. And so at this point, they have little choice but to riot and smash things and get their grievances out that way. And you know, you can look at many different countries where, you know, an election goes bad and people say, oh, that election was rigged, and they just start killing people, right? Like that happens, right? And if we think that can't happen in America, let me tell you, it absolutely can, right?
So that was a lot of words to say. You're not going to run for office, but you're going to go start burning stuff down and shooting in the streets. Got it. All right, very good.
So Eric, you want to start your closing remarks so we can get you out of here, bro?
Just want to say thanks for coming on, Lars. It's good catching up. Good to hear everything you got going on. Whenever you get ready to talk more about both those different organizations, either if it's a political action committee, nonprofit, I'll be following. I guess I can find more information on your Facebook. I don't know if you got the names of them and websites and everything you want to send people in those directions. We could plug them.
Yeah, the one that we're working on right now that's the real active one is morevoterchoicefund.org or .com. More Voter Choice Fund, or I think it's org or com. And basically that's the one that has the ballot access index and that we're doing lobbying in states. Currently, we're lobbying in several states and trying to write legislation to change ballot access laws in those states, so that's one of the ways I think that we can basically smash the duopoly is to change our election systems, to open it up, make it easier for people to run, get ranked choice voting in there, or some kind of different voting system that we have, so that there's more options on the ballot. Get rid of winner take all laws. Smash gerrymandering, all the ways that the system is corrupted and rigged. We have to unravel that if we're going to ever make any changes in America that's going to lead to freedom, liberty in my lifetime. That's basically in a nutshell what I got out of running for president. Was that, like, I went in thinking I could maybe do something, or I could change some minds or something, and I realized the system was so corrupt and so broken that the only way that we're going to get to do that is we have to smash the system, basically.
Awesome. Tub, what do you got in closing?
All I have to say is, Lars, I'll be waiting for the updates of you burning stuff down. All right.
Awesome. Eric, if you need to jump out, you can go ahead at this point. We're done with you.
Are you done with me also? Because I'm at the same time also. Remember, the rest of us aren't living on y'all's time.
All right, Eric. See you,
brother. So in my closing, Lars, you reminded me of a MLK quote where he said, "Rioting is the voice of the unheard." And that's, he had a lot of quotes that people don't like to talk about. They like to talk about his lollipop quotes that make everybody feel good, but he was somewhat of a radical. Me personally, I'm more Malcolm than Martin, because I do believe in violence, because you can't be a peaceful person if you don't understand what violence is. I don't want to be violent, but America is on the precipice, and I completely agree with you on some very violent upheavals because of the duopoly and its governance, or lack thereof, that has brought us to this point as Americans, where they've made us enemies. And I say this all the time. We go to work every day, and we work with people from different backgrounds, political stripes, and everything, and Americans get the job done, obviously. And then we go home and turn on the stupid box and to our chosen source of information, or get on our dumb phones and look at that, and they tell you why you should hate somebody that you actually get along with at work, why you should hate your neighbor that you actually get along with and you've been to their house for a barbecue or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what the politicians in the duopoly do, tell you why you should hate your fellow Americans. And to me, that's part of my personal mission too, is to, I told my buddy this. I was like, I'll go to because I want to be cremated. I'll go to my urn happy if I destroy the duopoly on my way out. That's the only thing that's not the only thing, but that's one of the things I want to leave my grandkids and my kids.
Yeah.
Is an option to, and let them know that these people are not doing this for the right reasons. Because when I used to coach youth sports, my mentor told me you always have to do this for the right reasons. And there is not one politician in Sacramento, in Tallahassee, in Washington, D.C., and I can't off the top of my head think of the capital of North Carolina.
Raleigh?
Is it Raleigh?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is.
But I can't think of.
That's your government school system right there working for you.
Yeah. I'm sure my kids can, but I've been out of the government school system for a long time. But I always say this. I was like, everybody has a lobbyist in Raleigh and Tallahassee and Sacramento and Washington, D.C., except the American people. Every enterprise, every foreign government can get the ear of the person that you bubble in their name on your ballot, and they could talk to them right offhand. If you express a concern, you're going to get a well-crafted letter with a digital signature. Thank you for your concerns. We're taking very careful consideration as to what you're thinking about, and we will, going forward, do something about this. And what happens?
I would like to tell you that I want to speak for big government for a minute, because I recently reached out to my local representative, and he was able to schedule my tour of the U.S. Capitol here in a couple weeks. So he finally did something that I could say, hey, good job.
Oh, we got a uniform here.
I am currently defending big government because this one time I did reach out to him, I got something good.
Oh, yeah. And my boy Joe brings up some current events here that that dude today got fired, but supposedly now he wants him to be the UN ambassador. I thought they had Stefanik or somebody doing that, but I don't know. The Trump administration, you can have your personal and political opinions about it, but what you have to agree with is it's going to be entertaining if you like funny politics, because
100%.
Yeah, it is politics is a circus, and our elected representatives are the clowns.
Yep.
And we just need to, hopefully, if you're not buying ammo. One more thing I wanted to mention, because we didn't get to this. I wanted to ask you why.
Hold on. We're an hour and 18 minutes in. You can't present a new topic now.
No, it's just
right,
one thing.
Very clear. This is your wrap-up time. This was your, hey, Lars, thanks for coming on, brother. Talk to you soon. Hope California doesn't burn down.
Lars, in 4 sentences, explain why every time the stock market crashes, gold goes up. 4 sentences.
Yeah, it's a flight to safety, essentially. It's people want to seek a stored value, asset value, basically, and so that's happening. But recently, there was a little bit of a normally when the stock market goes down, bonds rally, right, and gold rallies. But in this last and the dollar also usually gets stronger because people are like, oh, things are bad, we need a safe haven. But in that last big downturn that we had, the 1,500 point days, gold, bonds, the dollar, and stocks all went down at the same time, which was kind of unprecedented. And so that was right before they gave the delay on the tariffs. They paused the tariffs, and I think they did that because a lot of the financial guys that I follow, heavy hitters that are way smarter than me, were saying that if that had continued for a couple more days, the entire financial system might have collapsed. And so they basically had to put those pause in. And I don't know if you heard this story, but I guess there's one guy in the Trump administration that's super rah the tariffs, right? And there's two other guys, Bassett and somebody else, and they basically, Trump was supposed to be doing a meeting or something, and they called an emergency meeting in his office, and the other guy was busy doing something else, and they were able to convince him to put a pause on the tariffs while the hardline guy was not in the room, right? And then when he came back in the room, apparently he lost his shit. He was just like, what are you guys doing? They were supposed to keep these tariffs on. And so, there's monkey business inside the administration. That, I don't know. It's wild. I hope for a good outcome on this tariff stuff, but I have a lot of fear right now that the economy is about to go into deep recession. If they don't pull it off in the next 60 days, it's not going to be good.
That's a great way to end this.
I said, I was just thinking, man, what a great way to close. Hey, listen, you're all gonna die, so you all have a blessed night now. See, now there's where the importance of me comes in.
Yeah, I'm always been like this. Buy lead, because lead is the
100%.
ultimate metal
100%.
that will end up protecting your assets.
I would rather have bullets than gold. 100%.
Every day of the week.
Yeah, because with bullets you can take gold.
So if you're here goes our sponsorship.
You guys made a lot of non-libertarian comments tonight. I just want to make that clear. All right.
If you're anywhere where there's a Big Five sporting goods, every day they have a one-day sale, and it's always 2 calibers of ammo that they have on sale. There's some great deals there if you need to stock up, which I have been doing continuously since November 5th of 2024. Not because he got elected, it's just because he got elected. And I remember so with that being said, Lars, how can the people find you, reach out to you, and your mission and
Yeah, I'm still at Libertarian Lars on Twitter. That's mainly where I'm doing stuff now. I'm still on Facebook. It's just Lars. I think it's Lars for President on Facebook. You can find me. It's easy. And just watch out for more news on Voting Rights Foundation. We're just redoing the website real quick here, and we're going to be launching that in the next week or two.
All right. Tub, is there any way you want people to be able to reach out to you?
Not at all.
He quit social media. He quit.
That's right. Yes, I quit. Yeah. Leave me alone.
He unplugged.
All right. I'm done. The only thing I want to say before I head out is, hey, Lars, be safe racing cars that I can't afford.
Thank you, sir.
Indeed. Lars, I would ask that you share this out on all your platforms. I think you were very informative tonight. And being that this is the only real libertarian podcast, I know you do a lot of social media and whatnot, but you're never going to find a better home than the Black Powder Podcast, because we truly appreciate you, what you've done, what you've sacrificed, because it's no joke spending your own money traveling across this country to sell people liberty, and they don't want to hear it. I mean,
they don't want to hear it.
Yeah. And
yes,
I truly appreciate you making this your personal mission, because a lot of people with your resources would rather sit back and eat strawberries the size of hand fruit and just enjoy their wealth and luxury and not do anything for
most people are content just being at home and having their kids ignore them. You decided to take that show on the road.
Yeah.
So well done, Lars.
Thank you very much. This is the Black Powder Podcast, the only real libertarian podcast. I want to thank everybody who watched, listened, and whatnot. And remember, lead is more important than gold. So with that being said, and as we always close this, and if you guys want to join in, if you know the phrase, live free
or die.